But I do want to play this clip for you, clip 3, because I think it's important. And this is when Donald Trump was asked about this Jeffrey Epstein birthday letter. And he was asked about it yesterday. And we've learned that this letter does exist, that Donald Trump did write this letter to Jeffrey Epstein. It is sitting somewhere. And Donald Trump was asked about it, and listen to him. It's almost like the excuse that he makes of the dog ate my homework. Listen to this.
Did not write a letter for Jeffrey Epstein's birthday.
I don't even know what they're talking about. Now, somebody could have written a letter and used my name, but that's happened a lot. All you have to do is take a look at the dossier, the fake dossier. Everything's fake with that administration. Everything's fake with the Democrats. Take a look at what they just found about the dossier. Everything is fake. They're a bunch of sick people. Where did you see the people laying outside?
Right across the street from Lafayette Park, sir. Towards 15th.
We'll take care of it.
Yeah, everything is fake. Obama made up the letter. Maybe he wrote the letter. Joe Biden and Barack Obama created the Epstein files. If they did get the letter to Epstein on his birthday, Donald Trump didn't write it. It was somebody else that wrote it. I mean, it really is absolutely insane. Let's get into a little bit more specifics with you, if I may. Yeah. Obviously, we have, whether you want to call it a humanitarian issue or what have you, there's a lot of children and adults that are dying in Gaza because they don't have food. They have food insecurity, and it appears as though the Israeli government certainly has a lot to do with that. I would imagine you don't condone that, right?
I don't condone innocent civilians suffering during war. Of course not. And again, I don't know of anyone who does that. Who does condone and support the deliberate starving of people. My contention, and this is where I would imagine we would disagree, is I've been to the Kerem Shalom border crossing. I have family in the Israel Defense Forces. I have friends, Muslim friends, Jewish friends, Christian friends who are serving in Gaza at the moment. There is no deliberate mass starvation of the Palestinian people. On the contrary, more aid has gone into Gaza post-October 7th than pre-October 7th. If Israel was trying to starve the Palestinian people, then why would they invest hundreds of millions of dollars into the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation? I mean, I know Reverend Johnny Moore personally, who oversees that operation. It's an incredibly difficult job. It's incredibly thankless because you're trying to feed innocent civilians, whereby the dictatorial theological regime of Hamas is trying to capitalize and hijack the starvation of Palestinians by shooting indiscriminately at these aid sites, by stealing the aid that has routinely come into Gaza. And I agree with Piers, and I don't know your show, but I imagine you've stated this previously, how come journalists aren't allowed in? I would agree with you. I want you, and I want Piers, and I want CNN to see what I have seen, to go to the Kerem Shalom border crossing so they could see the...
Why are they not allowing journalists, though? Why do you think their reasoning could be behind that? Because I agree with you, but I don't understand why. Why are they doing that?
Sure. So two ways of answering it. First of all, they are allowing some journalists in. So yesterday, for example, the Israel Foreign Ministry did allow a select group of journalists who I'm sure you probably saw. You could search on Twitter images of it. NBC affiliates were allowed in, and they were able to see the pallets of literally mountains of food and baby formula and medicine that are basically just wasting away because the World Food Program and the UN RWA, the United Nations Relief Works Agency, refused to allow the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation to take that food and distribute it themselves. The UN said either we do it ourselves or you're not allowed to touch it. So I agree, you should be able to see that. In terms of why, it's basically two reasons. One, standard military rule, and this is true of the UK, it's true of France, it's even true of the United States. Standard military rule do not allow journalists access into active war zones. It just is not a thing. Now, there could be exceptions. So, for example, some journalists on certain conditions were able to go to the Ukrainian front lines, but it's not a given because the objective of a war is to win the war. It's not really to allow journalists to feel good and to tell the story. It's to win a war. But still, I agree with you. In many cases, journalists should be allowed in. The second argument that I would imagine the Israeli government is not allowing journalists in is because if individuals like Piers Morgan, who are already saying that Israel is indiscriminately killing innocent civilians and they're indiscriminately killing journalists, and then when you put a journalist in an active war zone in a very dense urban environment where the enemy combatant don't even wear uniforms of a military. They wear civilian clothing, and then inadvertently a journalist is killed. Well, you can imagine what the audiences in the Western world would say. Israel is once again indiscriminately targeting journalists. So Israel probably took the attitude of, we just don't want to take that risk to begin with, because again, the objective is to win the war. But again, I agree. I think certain journalists should be allowed, and there's no reason why Piers Morgan should not be allowed to see the mountains of food that is just wasting away because the UN, in their bureaucracy, to put it mildly, is refusing to allow other agencies to distribute.
Would you also agree with me that an innocent Palestinian child killed is just as bad as an innocent Israeli child killed, or for that matter, any innocent person in Israel or Gaza? Would you agree with that assessment?
Yeah, of course. I haven't heard the argument to the contrary. In fact, as a religious Jew, the Talmud is quite clear at the end of what's called the Tractate of Horios, which is a tractate of the Talmud. It actually is very clear that we don't know whose blood is redder than the other. So certainly any innocent life is a tragedy.
So I'm trying to understand this then, because we seem to agree. Why is it that you think you're attacked so much? I mean, I saw you on Piers Morgan the other day. You were called, for lack of a better term, you were called a bitch. You were sworn at. You were yelled at. You were screamed at. You seem to have some pretty reasonable views on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Why do you think you are attacked so much, my friend?
That's something you need to ask Anna Kasparian and Gideon Levy and people on the very far left. I've been called in the last couple of days sorry, I'm not allowed to curse on your show.
No cursing, but that's okay.
Sorry, but I've been called very nasty things. I've received death threats, multiple death threats since the Piers Morgan appearance. I get that this issue animates a lot of people emotionally. We hate to see innocent life being spilled. The problem is that's a consequence of starting a war, and unfortunately, in all war, innocent life is being spilled. But in terms of like the name calling, it's really sad. And as I think I said on Piers Morgan's show, I grew up on the far left. I actually made a YouTube account when I was in 8th or 9th grade, specifically to subscribe to the Young Turks, because Cenk Uygur and Anna Kasparian were quite influential in my political upbringing, and to actually meet them, or at least virtually meet them in real life, and to see the vitriol and the hatred is really sad, and it's difficult on a personal level, because I certainly respected them, and to just be called names and be sworn at, that's not going to get us to a long-lasting just peace. It's a way that you can get clicks on social media. Anna's obviously doing quite well on Twitter. That clip of her calling me the B word has gone pretty viral. But unfortunately, that's just the media that she has normalized, accepted, and celebrated. I certainly denounce that, and I would hope that someone double my age would denounce it as well, but evidently she doesn't want to.
I denounce it, and I don't know why she went after you like that. Obviously, you don't want innocent people to die anywhere, whether it's Gaza or Palestinians or Israelis. We all want this war to end.
I'm not here to attack. I'm just here to get the facts. And you seem to agree with a lot of things that Brian said, that you're against all immigrants being deported. You're against alligator Alcatraz. But you kind of like blow that aside. And then you kind of, I don't know if you know, but you blow away the fact that he had dinner with a Nazi. You blew away the fact that the KKK endorses him. You blow away the fact that the Oath Keepers and Proud Boys endorse him. So I want to ask you a question, Cyrus. I want to ask you one question, very simple, and I don't want to hear a slogan. And I'll hang up and listen to your answer. What policies do you like about Donald Trump? And I don't want to hear slogans. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mark.
I think that some people voted for him not because they liked his policies, but because they wanted a better candidate for 28. Because they knew that, well, that 20 candidate we had last year wasn't as good, so it's better to just make sure she doesn't win, and then we get a better candidate, and we may be better off long run. I think that was part of the logic. See, not every Trump supporter is the same. There's different shades of red. I think there are some people who are light pink. So I think that...
Do you have policy? I think he had asked you, what are the policies you like?
Well, like I said, just like I said, Piers Morgan brought up the border apprehensions much down. I think that is, that is the record, that is the data. I can't say that data is a lie. So I have to give him credit where it's due.
Even though people are not getting due process in this country.
Like I said, I have to look at every case. I have to see what's going on. I cannot comment on something just because somebody tells me something.
Well,
I have to look at what's going on.
The Trump administration has admitted that they sent people to El Salvador prisons because they had tattoos. And they believed without those people getting any due process.
But I think that heart of my issue is I want to audit and fine every employer who's hiring these people, at least in sectors that Americans want jobs, because not every sector is the same. And I think that we should know who they are.
Donald Trump has done that. We know who he is. He's hired illegal immigrants.
I'm not
his entire
surprised.
life.
I'm not surprised. I think that happened in the 80s. I'm not surprised.
But he still did it. He still did it.
Everybody should get fined regardless.
Okay.
I'm pissed off at Wall Street, hedge funds. That's where my anger is.
You think illegal immigrants that are working in this country is a bigger issue than all the gun violence we have in this country, or 15 million people that are going to be losing their Medicaid? I mean, you think that's
a very excellent question. It's a very excellent question. My biggest issue is that our country has been hijacked by a corporate cartel.
Okay.
The financial system, this globalist policy has not worked for the American people. And I believe immigration has been hijacked, like every other issue, to basically serve their benefits. And by the way, I think a lot of these lobbies, they can't.
I'm going to be honest with you. The people that you were sitting next to in this Jubilee thing, I find much more dangerous to the United States of America than the overwhelming majority of undocumented immigrants that are in this country that want a better life for themselves and their family. Why you're not more concerned about some of those people?
Well, you just have to research them, see if they have criminal records or violent tendencies.
I mean, they're defending Nazism.
Okay.
The overwhelming majority of per capita, you have a better chance, you know this, a better chance of being the victim of a crime from an American citizen than you do an undocumented immigrant. Don't those people...
I'm not surprised, but they do have a higher crime rate than legal arrivals. Legal arrivals versus non-legal. So there's still a difference.
Per capita, if you're undocumented in this country, you have a better chance of being the victim of a crime from an American citizen than an undocumented immigrant, which means...
I've seen the data.
Yeah.
I've seen the data.
So the idea that these people
But the legal arrivals, that's what I was getting to. But there's two reasons that bothers me.
No, that's not the legal arrivals. If you're undocumented in this country, you still have a better chance of being the victim of a crime from an American citizen. Those are the stats put forth by the FBI.
I'm a foreign-born that came in legally.
Okay.
That's what I was talking about. I'm sorry.
Understood.
So there's two reasons why it concerns me. The hedge funds, private equity, I believe that it's being done for their interest. And this leads me to my other point. I run an urban planning organization because my top issue in America is not is not immigration. It's two things that I dislike about America. America has lost its family structure, its gender roles and everything else.
Can I ask you about that?
Decline of marriages, birth rates.
Can I ask you about that?
Yeah.
I believe you're being genuine with me when you care about family structure. You know where I'm going to go with this.
Yeah.
You care about family structure, which, by the way, I do as well. I'm with you.
It's natural. We need to keep reproducing.
But if you care about family structure, then why would you vote for the guy that's cheated on every single woman he's ever had? He had unprotected sex with a porn star. How do I know? He paid Stormy Daniels $130,000. He bragged about sexual assault. He bragged about...
He has issues, but I want to get to my other point.
But hold on. You care. Hear me out, Cyrus. I'm not trying to attack you on this. You're bringing up family structure, and I hear this from Republicans all the time. The nuclear family.
Because that's not really so much of a political issue. That's a cultural issue. The mass media is responsible.
But the leader of your leader of your party is a serial cheater and abuser.
That's too bad, and I should condemn that. But let me get to my other point, because I run a local chapter of an urban planning organization. We have chapters around the world. Where America really disgusts me is its urban planning system.
Okay.
We can't get around without cars in most places. Most homes are really close together here in Las Vegas and much of the country. We have a situation where car travel has its downsides. We can't walk down the street to do our errands like we used to in the old cities. You go to other countries, especially in the older areas. You care about our
roads. You care about our roads. You care about construction. You care about bridges.
I agree.
Is that a fair characterization?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Our urban planning is a disaster. And I think until we fix this situation, we should not bring people into our country.
What did Donald Trump say back in the 2016 election when he was president for 4 years about a bipartisan infrastructure bill? What did he say?
I don't remember.
He said he was going to do it. What happened?
Don't remember.
He didn't do it. You know who did? Joe Biden. He put together a bipartisan infrastructure bill something that Donald Trump promised he would do for the American people. And if we want to talk about promises and you care about it.
I will give him credit for the Bright Line train.
Well, I mean, he put together the bipartisan infrastructure bill, and Trump was the guy that said he was going to build a wall and Mexico was going to pay for it.
Where we need to go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. And your man is on the run. Donald Trump had a meltdown today on the White House lawn just before he headed out, running over to Scotland. And then after his meltdown, he proceeded to go ahead and promote his golf course in his resort over in Scotland. Now, the Scots are none too pleased to see this clown coming. They can't stand him over there. They don't want him there. And I'm surprised with 34 felony convictions, he's going to be allowed to land in their territory. So we'll see what happens. But he's going over there to golf. Talked about some meetings they might have. Who knows? I mean, if you're a world leader, what are you doing meeting with Donald Trump? What, you're going to have some silly tariff meeting that he's going to try to charge you out the yin-yang? Yeah, I don't think so. We need to tally up his golf trips, because he talked about President Obama's golfing. Nobody plays more golf than Donald Trump. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. I'm the greatest golfer ever. Joined by my partner in crime, Brock Canellis, with a look at what's going on again today. Trumpstein is the scandal. Brock, he can't get away from it. He's trying. He's running to Scotland. I know this trip wasn't on the calendar. So where's he going?
5 day trip, right? Which is pretty long outing. What always kind of now starts to amaze me is how gloves off foreign citizens are, right? Like, he was just getting basted and mocked in the newspapers.
My God, they're
so
killing
this trip is they hate him over there because they think his golf course, he's lied about shit, and you know, the real estate deal that he did, was basically typical Trump. He lied. He fucked with the environment. He did all kinds of shit that pisses them off. But yeah, you're right. He can't run away from the Epstein thing. I thought one of the funnier backdoor mockeries of Trump was how the South Park guys somehow did the deal with Paramount, who had just fired Colbert to get their deal confirmed. Their deal got confirmed, and then they sign up South Park, and the South Park guys just roasted Trump last night.
Killed him.
And, yeah, so he is just being the mockery, and they do say that the way to take down authoritarians is through comedy and to poke the hole in their veneer. It's sort of why in China, Xi Jinping doesn't allow them to call him like Winnie the Pooh anymore, right? Because of the mockery, and it chips away at their strength. But yes, South Park went hard.
In the paint.
So Trump is a punching bag right now.
Oh, yeah.
Not that changes the dynamic, the power dynamic yet. But, it chips away at the strongman image, and it helps move people away from him. So, I was a little less, I was really skeptical yesterday when you told me he's going down. I'm 2 steps less skeptical today. Because when I see that kind of mockery, and when the mockery becomes a big story, the South Park thing became as big a story as anything Trump was trying to say today, right? Like he got trumped by comedy.
Right. And think about it, Brock, as the week has gone on, let's go back and look at the week in review. As the week has gone on, his lies have become more and more outlandish, right? Today, he's throwing Larry Summers, the former president of Harvard, under the bus, right? Talking about him living with Epstein, right? Larry Summers is going to come and slap him with a lawsuit. He's definitely going to hit him with a lawsuit for defamation. And he's throwing President Clinton under the bus. And he's got a list, he says, of about 100. I got a list of 100 names. I'm going to give them all to you. Those are the folks you need to be talking about. And it's getting worse. As it progresses, we're starting to see the walls come down. And so that now, like you mentioned the other day, that scares me because he's like a caged animal, right? And he'll do anything, right, to get away and try to preserve power. But what's happening now is that, even though a lot of these, your estate media, your CBS's, obviously state regime media, Fox News, have been kowtowing to this guy, they're still taking shots. Now remember, the network that owns South Park is Paramount. Paramount is just doing this deal, that Trump's got to sign off on, Trump's turning around and saying, hey, I just did this deal for you. And now you're mocking me. And so, nobody takes him serious anymore. Nobody with any credit. You even start to see the White House press corps say, hey, what do you expect, from this Ghislaine Maxwell deal? You know, like, what is your, Department of Justice going to get from her, right? Why are we relitigating this? All we're trying to find out is if your name is on it. And so the press corps is starting to push back now. And I think when they give up on him and his lies, it's a wrap. And that's coming pretty quickly.
Well, it's interesting because apparently Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyer said that she answered questions on 100 different people. So 100 is now the number that all sides are floating. There's no doubt that Trump is trial ballooning the pardon of Ghislaine Maxwell just to see what the reaction's going to be, right? So he's just lobbing it out there that he can do it. He has the right to do it, right? Might make sense to do. It might be the fair thing to do. So he's just seeing whether he's going to get a negative or positive reaction from it. So he'll play with pardon for a while his cronies are out there manipulating Maxwell to make sure that whatever comes out of her fits into the Trump line of thinking or of propagandizing.
Right.
Well, like you said the other day, the press is getting the eyeballs on this, so the press isn't going to give it up because it's too good, right? The press wanted Trump as president because he made for good copy. Biden was boring. Trump's exciting. So in a way, the press is getting what they wanted because they're getting ratings again. Because people are watching, because this is a story.
Right. It's the train wreck you can't look away from. And that's what we've always wanted in the media. To an extent, I'm guilty of it. I spent 30 years in television news. And, we liked it when there were big stories, right? But they were actual news stories. They weren't the leader of the free world being caught up in the world's biggest sex trafficking scandal. Some of the most influential and most powerful men in North America. And so now, it's more than just a story. It's an international embarrassment, right? To have Donald Trump standing on the White House lawn, calling President Obama a criminal and talking about how President Obama owes him big time. Why does President Obama has 0 scandals in 8 years, 0 administration arrests, 0 indictments. It's a joke.
He's just going for the racism there. Obama's not even a good target on this topic. Look, Clinton's an easy target because we know he wasn't, his morality, meter was
in question. It was in question.
So there's no doubt that he was in that. All right, the story's hanging and the story's sticking with us. And I just got a couple other topics to hit on. Number one is, let's just talk climate change for a second, because you see I'm sweating here. I'm in Boise, Idaho, a country trip. I'm in Boise, and there's a little bit of a Wi-Fi issue going on where I'm staying, so I'm outside now doing this podcast with you. So I hop in the car. It is 100 degrees in Boise in the summer, and it has been 90 to 95 degrees everywhere we've gone throughout this cross-country drive. People are just baking. And this is the northern part of the country. And it's just everywhere. He's out of control. It's been 95 all week long. And I'm in the mountains and I'm in the Northwest and I'm figuring it's going to be much cooler here.
Right.
And I think I told you on the radio it's all anyone was talking about. And now Trump, while he's, bobbing and weaving about Epstein, Project 2025 is still peeling shit back. Now I see the headline stories that is decarbonization over? As if we've literally quit on the whole idea of trying to manage the destruction that we've done to the planet that's led to this absurd, both dangerous weather everywhere and just extreme heat. I mean, I'm tired of... We're going to get to September and then there's going to be headlines that this was the record hottest summer in history in Europe, in the U.S., but it'll be the 3rd or 4th year in a row. So it's it's just going to get hotter every year because now we've decided we're not going to do anything about it. And we're just punting on this in the way that we're punting on vaccines, because even though they work, we let these imbeciles run shit. And now, while we're not watching, Kennedy is rolling back vaccine panels and cancer research. And we're going to defund PEPFAR, which basically wiped out HIV globally.
Right.
To a certain extent. It became... It didn't take it to the measles level. So while we keep talking about Trump over the last 7 to 10 days, because I know we have to get him out of there, the destruction of Project 2020...
Paramount.
It's devastating, it's accelerating, and there's no mechanism for stopping it.
Well, it's interesting you say that too, because the Heritage Fund or the Heritage Foundation's founder died just 2 days ago. And I posted the information on Facebook. Nobody really understood the Heritage Foundation and how pivotal they are in dismantling our democracy. And this guy died, and I posted, one of the most evil human beings, right, to our not to our country, to our civilization.
The greed,
and
right? You think it's the greed that, him, the Koch brothers, but these heritage foundations, these Leon Leos with the Federalists, like, these are the people that just write the legislation, right? The legislators, Chuck Grassley, fucking 9-year-old Chuck Grassley, he's not sitting there writing legislation, right? It's getting handed to him by lobbyists like the Heritage Foundation, and then they're bringing it to the floor, and it's basically word for word, right? And that's where Project 2025 is just an extension of the types of lobbying policies that MAGA politicians have been bringing to the floor for decades now.
Yes,
absolutely. And so the outcome is me sweating my ass off in Boise, Idaho, on a Friday late afternoon. It's like, shouldn't it be cooling down?
You would think.
Dude, it's fucking 99.
Yep. I mean, hey, look, we're in the South, bro. Like, we are in the South. You go stand in the driveway, you add humidity to 90+ degree temperatures.
Yeah.
We've had 21 out of the last 22 days 90 and above, right? And throw the storms in there that we get. You can set your clock by them. Early evening thunderstorms rolling through the region. Lightning strikes here, lightning strikes there, and the storms are worse and worse every year. And you could just look out your window, you can see the clouds just rolling. And, fortunately, we're far enough inland where the hurricanes really never we get some outer band stuff here in Atlanta, but they really don't make it to us. But we can tell, how it's impacting the peanut growers, the watermelon growers, the Vidalia onion growers, the peach growers. We got huge agriculture in this part of the world, all throughout the Southern Belt, and it is really being impacted. I'm surprised we're not on, water conservation already, because you're not supposed to run your sprinklers once we hit that water conservation.
We'll get there by August in the Northeast too. But also, like, meat prices are up. All grocery prices are still up. So that was a fraud. Like, prices are up. So inflation is chipping away at people. Climate change, we don't even talk about anymore. We've kind of just shrugged our shoulders that as long as Trump is president, everything's getting rolled back. Emission standards, whether it be autos, we're digging for coal again and the like. We never even will talk about gun control. It's just an amazing confluence of negative factors that are going on while Trump just fights for his personal life and his personal income with on the corruption that he's fighting for. But really, the rest of us are getting fucked. And we're only 6 or 7 months into this shit.
Right. We got 3.5 more years of this bullshit. I don't know how the U.S. survives. I don't know how our democracy survives, much less the health of the American people survive. Between climate change, the vaccination rollbacks, and all the other shit that they're doing, the lack of cancer research, the defunding this, that, the cuts at the CDC, we already saw how they handle COVID. We know they have no idea how to deal with a pandemic or any kind of outbreak of any sort. I mean, remember, this Nile never really got going good, going back to 2013, 2012, 2013, right? Yep. Never really got going good because we had competent people on the job. We don't have anybody that I could put any faith in that's on the job in this clown cabinet, in this clown car. Yeah. Because Mark, everybody's ridiculous.
So we got a response to one of our podcasts and some commentary made, maybe it was more on social media, about, racism in rural America, right? And somebody clapped back hard, kind of like, no, there's a lot of white people out in rural America, right? And there's a lot of liberals, and it's not what a Brock, Northeastern elite, liberal, libtard, blah, blah guy, get out of your bubble. There's a lot of things going on in rural America, in the white community. And my response was, really? I want to hear it. I don't see it. I see you voting the same MAGA politicians up and down. I see you voting every time. I see you voting for Trump every fucking time. So, like, now you're getting your hospitals closed, your farms are suffering, every part of your life is suffering, white rural America. But, I mean, I'm just from the camp as a white guy, white liberal Northeast guy, is like, I don't buy it. I saw a couple people get mad at a couple town halls, but I don't see any action from rural America. I just consider you dead red until I'm proven wrong.
Right. Why would you vote any different? Apparently it's been working for you, right? We never see any upsets. We are constantly watching the electoral map, and we never see these, especially here in Georgia. We don't even look to see if those races are going to be competitive.
Yeah.
Right? We're only looking at the urban areas in Georgia. That's the urban areas are what is making Georgia a purple state. It's not the rural areas. Go to rural South Carolina. It's dead red. Go to rural North Carolina. Totally red. Rural Virginia, same thing. Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi. We could run across the map.
Mark,
it's
I feel like
Kentucky.
I feel like Kansas had like a special election and they voted for like abortion rights. And remember, it was supposed to be a big canary in the coal mine, and wow, some of these issues, and sometimes they vote legalization of marijuana, and then there's like there is some, a mentality shift going on in some of these deep red states and the like, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't see any momentum to that or hear any momentum to it. And I feel like, are these the voters / people that are going to turn on Trump? Like, are any of these folks QAnon enough to go anti-Trump? Because there's a frustration, I have with the country that I just drove through and going to drove back through. I'm seeing Trump signs everywhere, and I'm kind of like, why are you celebrating this man? Like, what are you getting beyond the racism?
Right. And the racism will win out. And you know why? Because the Republicans, again, will do a better job out messaging the Democrats. The Democrats will choose to spend money in all the wrong places. They won't contest any of these rural areas, right? Look what happened with Beto, right? We thought Beto had Texas. We thought he had run a great campaign, right? And then when push came to shove, all the red stayed red. Right? He couldn't count on anything in Texas outside of the urban areas. And you can't win when you can't get that guy sitting at the diner in one of those rural areas to come along with some common sense legislation.
Beto's arguing that the Dems have to go on the offensive. Hogg is trying to get the old-time Dems out of their seats. Malcolm Kenyatta is doing what he can from the inside. But I'm not necessarily seeing the progress. It still feels like a Democratic Party and an opposition that is not meeting the moment, even with the Epstein. Epstein is kind of like a slow-pitch softball right down the middle. Every Democrat should be crushing this one. It's so easy. There's no position they can't lose on this issue. It's so simple. Trump should be a piñata and getting hit by hundreds of Democratic politicians, anyone who can get in front of a microphone, which they can, and that's their advantage over us, right? They can get a microphone in front of them.
Right. Brock, they should be having press conferences every day. Hakeem Jeffries, all they need to do is read what's in the public sphere already. If you just come out and say, hey, folks, this is what we know. These are the facts as we have heard them as it relates to the Epstein conviction, the Maxwell conviction. Here is what we just go down the list and read 10 facts. Now I'll take some questions. How hard is that? Everyone should be doing that, from AOC to Jasmine Crockett to Swalwell. We should be covering the country with that. And we should have our senators doing it too. You blue senators, get on the steps of that Capitol, call your press conference on a daily basis, get on MSNBC, get Pete Buttigieg on Fox News, and
be proactive. Call, say you want to be on. Be accessible.
I want to be on.
I'm going to have to pull the plug. Before I pass out here in Boise, I'm going to have to find air conditioning. So I'll be driving 30 plus hours. I'll be listening to local radio. I know they'll be talking about all the climate change and weather related problems
Take
that they
notes,
have.
bro.
And the fact that their stations are all going to go out of business because Project 2025 decided to defund
the funding.
Local radio. I'm not going to find gas that's lower than $2.58. That'll be the cheapest. Boise's above $3. It's cheaper in Boise than it is where I live in upstate New York.
Absolutely.
Those are three things that I know that I'm going to get hit with, and I'm going to see a bunch of Trump flags along the way. As rural hospitals get closed, I'm going to see these states still cheering. Remember, Wyoming, I'm going to be in Wyoming for 6 hours. That's the state that got rid of Liz Cheney, right? And brought in that MAGA maniac.
Right.
And they're going to tell me that they have some progressive thoughts going on or that we shouldn't write them off. So I'll try to do the ride with an open mind.
Good luck.
I'll absorb the beauty of the country.
Take notes and take pictures, my friend. Be safe, though.
But yeah, so we'll be off a couple of days and we'll revisit early next week, hopefully with a lot of new fodder to talk about.
Sounds good, buddy. Be
Trump
safe.
Hopefully Trump's approvals have slipped another few points by then.
Let's hope so, brother. All right, my friend. Go get cool.
All right,
Appreciate you.
pal.
Always a
All right,
pleasure.
Mark, always a pleasure. All right,
Peace.
bye-bye.
Now, I know you're not a huge MAGA supporter. You did vote for Donald Trump, and I want to talk to you about that. Are you okay with the fact that there are ICE agents across this country, I'm talking about the United States now, some of whom are not even identifying themselves, going into churches, going into synagogues, in front of Home Depot, arresting people outside of the courtroom? With your dissent and where you come from, I would imagine you can't be okay with that.
I'm concerned about that. I think he's kind of like hit the accelerator. Sometimes I do feel that way. I do believe that the way we do it is we audit every employer in this country and figure out where they're employing and why they're employing them and issue fines and levies.
Are you comfortable with undocumented immigrants being sent with no due process to El Salvador prisons?
It depends on the case. I have to hear both sides.
Well,
but if there's literally people with no criminal records
there are,
and been here for 30 years.
There are.
And there are people who tried to become U.S. citizens.
Correct.
And the system is tough. That's a different animal.
Do you regret voting for Donald Trump where we are right now, 6 months into his administration, where we have the war in the Ukraine that's still going on?
I can't say.
You can't say?
I can't say because it's like
you think he's done some good things?
I mean, look here, Lear Pierce Morgan, the border crossings are down.
The border crossings are down, but look at how much we are in as a country. Look at the people in this country that are not getting due process. Some people that look like you. Look at the fact
those two are not the same thing.
But it's still immigration policy.
If you close the door, is not the same as kicking people out.
But it's still immigration policy.
That's a
you
good
can
point.
say that border crossings are down, but there are still people in this country that are not getting due process. He's defined the Constitution. The war in the Ukraine, he said, would be over in 24 hours. That's worse off now than it was on day one. We're now involved, in my opinion, in an ill-advised war in Iran. He hasn't lowered inflation. In fact, inflation went up last month. Gas prices are not dropping down. People are struggling, and you know this because in Las Vegas, tourism is way down. People are getting killed.
Well, Fremont isn't doing so bad, and I think some of it has to do with the management of the casinos.
All right. Well, I mean, I can give you some statistics.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you.
Yeah.
I'm saying that you can 100% blame it on one person, though, just like you can 100% blame inflation on Joe Biden. In fact, I don't think he was even the main
Well, we
cause.
had something called COVID, obviously.
Yeah,
but
I want to get to the whole race point. The issue I have with these people.
Okay.
Is that the demographic decline in the United States is not mainly happening due to immigration. It's happening to birth rates. So that if I told these people, I would have told that blonde woman next to me, I said, just have more kids, outnumber the people. That's a more appropriate response because the fertility rate can also be a huge factor. Now, I do believe that the United States, we have to see that there are some issues with diversity. Las Vegas is not racially diverse in every neighborhood. People do tend to
I think it's more diverse here than in a lot of other places across the country.
It is true, but there are some neighborhoods that are not so diverse on the outskirts.
But if you okay, I believe you're being genuine with me here.
Yes.
But if you care so much about diversity, why vote for a guy like Donald Trump who literally invites people like Nick Fuentes and Kanye West to Mar-a-Lago? Literally hangs.
It's a good question.
I don't understand, but let me just give you some stats here.
Good
because
question.
You mentioned.
Look,
hold on. Let me just give you some stats. This is important because you said Fremont's doing well. Las Vegas hotel occupancy dropped nearly 15% in June, another 17% in July. This is the steepest decline among the top 25 U.S. tourism markets, according to data research by the Sniff Travel Research, and it gets worse. 13.2% fewer international travelers visited Las Vegas in June compared to last year. Hotel revenue fell off a cliff, dropping nearly 29% to just $102.75.
I'm being affected.
This is not an accident. This is Donald Trump's policy.
I have trouble paying my bills.
And you don't regret voting for Donald Trump. You can't say.
Like I said, time will tell.
What if he's in the Epstein files? What if it's proven that
I'm not surprised? But I want to get to the Jubilee subject.
Okay, I do want to talk about the Jubilee stuff. I promise you we'll get back to that.
We want to make sure we don't run out of time.
We have plenty of time to do that. But this is, you seem like a nice guy. I don't think you're a dumb guy. I don't think you're one of those white supremacists, clearly, that you were in that room with. Well, but hold on.
People have to tell me what's the goal of what America's going to look like in 50 years, why it's being done, and will it get to the point where too much of one thing, where the drawbacks will outweigh the benefits?
I understand what you're saying, Cyrus. Okay, but this is the part that it confuses me. Okay, you're telling me that you most likely believe that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. By the way, we agree on that.
I'm not surprised. I don't know. I haven't looked into it.
So if you're not surprised that the guy is a child predator and you voted for him, why not just say, you know what? I shouldn't have voted for this guy. That's the part. You seem like a nice guy. It's not wrong to admit that. I understand you probably don't.
If he is, I'll admit it. Okay, that's fine.
Do you think there's a chance that the Wall Street Journal
I'm not
is
surprised.
lying?
Not surprised. Look, when he first ran, I thought that I was kind of not excited about it. I thought that he's part of the same status quo.
I'm going to emphasize you weren't one of these people, but there were a lot of people in that room that were like that. They're dangerous. These are dangerous people. They don't want people like you in this country. They're racist. They want America to look white. Don't you think that's the base of Donald Trump? And we'll get to Donald Trump, but
minority. Majority of them, I don't believe that.
You really don't believe that?
There's a minority that believe that, and absolutely.
Then why is it that when I go to a Trump rally, or when I did, 99% of the people that I saw at that rally were white people? Why is it that the Republican Party...
Not here in Las Vegas.
Well, I've been to a few, and I can tell you the overwhelming majority of people that were at his rallies were absolutely white.
The voting statistic did shift.
94% of black women didn't vote for Donald Trump. 80% of black men didn't vote for Donald Trump.
Young black men did shift.
Well, that might be true, but there's 12 or 13% of people in this country are black. Less than 1% of people are elected Republicans. Why is that? Why is there so few minorities within the Republican Party compared to the Democrat Party?
That's a very long story. I think it's just how they market themselves. There's a lot of other factors. But
could it be policy? Could policy be a factor?
Absolutely, I do think that is. But I want to get to the heart of this issue because I spoke with Mehdi about this. And I'm not saying the U.S. should be like this, but when you look at countries like the UK or Iran or Japan, their cultural traditions matter. And these countries are smaller, they're more historic. And I would be upset if Tehran became a minority Persian city because it would get to the point where the culture would be diminished. For an example, if they just said, we're gonna import a bunch of sub-Saharan Africans into, let's say, Tehran or Tokyo, it would change the culture and the realm of those cities.
But you're allowed to be whatever you want to be. Why do you care so much about people from other cultures coming to certain areas? I mean, in my opinion, in the United States,
cultural preservation.
Listen, I don't have a lot in common with evangelical people on the right, but I'm not going to tell them what to believe.
The U.S. is different.
I'm not going to tell. Okay, well, let's talk about the U.S.
The U.S. is different than the U.K.
Okay,
I think the U.K., when they're losing their British population, that concerns me. And I think it's the European population are mainly successful for their development and just to recklessly bring people from less fortunate societies to more developed societies is not the way to do it, depending on how it's
I'll tell you what concerns me more. People who judge others based on race, people who judge others based on religion. We have a lot of people like that in this country, and I'm not so concerned about races or religions and where they decide to live. They should be able to live wherever they want to. Mm-hmm. What I'm concerned about is what's going on in this country right now.
Hispanic music next door, that didn't bother me, but it does bother some people. And
they're idiots. Why can't you?
But it bothers them.
They're idiots.
No, but
It shouldn't bother them.
But
They're
if you
idiots.
had
They're
100,000 of them move to Japan and South Korea and Philippines, it's going to create a little bit of distrust.
This was you, okay, Cyrus, debating Mehdi Hassan on this Jubilee debate. And I want to play this first clip. This is clip number 1. And this is Cyrus debating Mehdi Hassan. Have a listen to this.
I understand that there are people in this audience that don't like me or you in this country, and I respect that. There's some that don't even want me to date a blonde woman. They want to keep to their own, or ginger or whatever. I respect that.
Why? Why would you respect someone that, Cyrus, I think you're a nice guy. We've met before. Why would you respect somebody who judges you based on the color of your skin? Why would you say that?
Well, it's a very rude and harsh thing to do. And again, when it comes to dating, it's the same concept. They don't want to lose their influence in this country or around the world. A lot of them still tell me, stay away from those women. We are not comfortable having you here.
Well, they're racist. They're horrible people that say that to you.
It's their freedom of speech.
Listen, I agree.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
I agree, but there's a difference, in my opinion, Cyrus, between freedom of speech and saying, I respect you. For example, if there's somebody on the street right now that says, I hate black people, or I hate white people, or I hate Jews, whatever the case, yes, it's freedom of speech, but if I drive by them, I would probably throw out an expletive, and I'd say, you're a horrible human being. I wouldn't
It's a
say
crappy thing to do.
Well, it's just, you're a horrible person.
You know, one of the marchers in Charlottesville, Patrick Casey, he had an organization. He deliberately told me, you can't join. And I'm like, how could you judge me just from my outside to think automatically I'd be a negative influence on your organization? That's what I'm opposed. Judging individuals is not the same as groups.
But why do you respect those people? I don't understand.
They have their points of view, and everybody's points of view. Communists, it doesn't matter. You have to allow them to speak, provide evidence, and make informed decisions.
Okay,
maybe there might be 1% of something they may be right.
But if somebody starts squealing out the N-word, your response.
No.
Well, what these people were doing in here to me was just as bad.
What they were doing does not reflect what I was spewing.
I'm not saying you're this person. I'm not trying to attack you.
I was just making sure.
I'm not attacking you because you weren't making those statements. All I'm trying to understand from you, and let me play another clip, because this is another clip. And by the way, I wish you had more time to debate Mehdi Hassan, because I actually thought you were one of the more reasonable people, and I've said that. But this is the point where I believe Mehdi Hassan agrees with me, and this is clip number 2, where you're getting into it with Mehdi Hassan about these crazy people with their weird views.
Part of the reason he got in is that people in this room want people like me and you to leave, and they voted for him to try and make that happen.
I'm not surprised. One of the Charlottesville marchers doesn't like me, and I've met those people, and I respect their views.
You really shouldn't.
Well, they're wants.
Don't respect racists and fascists, is my advice to you.
Well, they have their preferences. You know, that's just, we can't change that.
Actually, we can. That's why I tried to come in today, but anyway.
All right. So that's the point that I'm trying to make, and I agree with Mehdi Hassan. You're talking about Charlottesville when Donald Trump said there are good people on both sides. It's a difference between having it, like, we probably have different points of views on Donald Trump, and we'll get into that. My point that I'm trying to make is, I want people like you in this country. I don't care what the color of your skin is. I would never tell you to go back to your country.
Same here.
And I don't respect people that are racist. I don't respect people that judge people based on skin color.
I think I used the wrong term. I was so nervous, and I just kind of, I had a word fart or whatever.
Okay.
But here's the thing. It's the same equivalency if somebody said that I hate white people. I want to bring millions into this country to outnumber them. I want them to be gone in the UK and Europe. And I think they're the scum of the earth. It's the same equivalency of that, you know. And I'm Persian of Iranian descent. We personally say nasty things about every race, including white people,
which is also wrong.
Yeah.
And I think Mehdi Hassan is pretty consistent, and I think I'm very consistent on that. There were some white people in that crowd that sounded like a Klan rally, Cyrus. I'm not gaslighting here. It sounded like you were sitting at a Klan rally. And
dark.
It was hard for me to watch that. It was hard. Yeah. Okay. And these are not people on the left. I'm sorry, they're just not.
Well, here's what I wanted to talk about Piers Morgan. I just want to get to the chase. I don't care, you know, let's just say, for an example, if we had European immigration come to the United States, okay, we're still going to have many of the same problems: traffic, schools, language. We have many European immigrants living in Las Vegas competing for jobs. It's the same, similar kind of whatever. But I believe that the Chamber of Commerce, Wall Street, the politicians don't have our best interests in this art. That's what bothers me.
I think most of them don't. I agree with you.
And there was some, Hispanic music next door. That didn't bother me, but it does bother some people. Well,
they're idiots. Why can't you?
But it bothers them.
They're idiots.
No, but
it shouldn't bother them.
But
they're
if you
idiots.
had
They're
100,000 of them move to Japan and South Korea and Philippines, it's going to create a little bit of distrust. People
but
naturally,
if somebody doesn't like Hispanic music because it's a different language, or they don't like rap and they make incendiary comments, they're idiots. Now listen, if I don't like a certain type of music, it's not because of the color of their skin or the origin of it. I don't like country music. It's not because most country singers are white. I just don't like the music.
Me too, for the most part. What I'm pointing out is that diversity has issues. My aunt lives in Tehran. They've had some Afghan refugees. Afghan refugees are kind of like the Latinos of that country doing low-level jobs. She's unhappy about it. You find that every country in the world, you do polls, you'll show that they're less likely to want to live with a neighbor with a different race or have an immigrant as a neighbor. America is a relatively tolerant country around the world.
These days, I'm not so sure, but would you consider it a point of view?
In India, China,
but if somebody
Russia,
says to you, like they did in this Jubilee debate, some did to Mehdi Hassan, get out of my country. You consider that a point of view. I consider it a clan. I consider it a racist. Yeah,
you're judging somebody's on their individual.
That's not a point of view. You're just a racist.
And just because you disagree with their politics is not a legitimate reason. So it's one thing if Mehdi had serious problems, a horrible past, maybe some, a bunch of things that could not filter through the immigration system. That's a different story.
Covey says Trump is being accused of raping kids, so Lindsey Graham is demanding a special counsel investigation of Barack Obama.
Should Barack Obama go to prison?
Well, that'd be up to a judge and a jury, not me. It's got to be charged first, but is there something to look at? Yes. Let me tell you why. I know this topic pretty well. So the Christopher Steele dossier that was used to get a warrant against Carter Page proved to be unreliable, and it was used over and over again. Christopher Steele was hired by Hillary Clinton to suggest in 2016 they did not try to start the storyline, the Democrats, that Trump was tied to Russia in a nefarious way is reinventing history. After the election, before President Trump gets sworn in 2017, we now know that Obama met with his intel community who said there's no evidence of Russian interference, and he said, I don't like that result, and the intelligence community changed their assessment. I want to know why and how that happened.
Karma has got to come for Lindsey Graham someday. I mean, I don't even know what word there is to describe his cowardice. Okay. Ron says Trump's former criminal defense attorney meets with convicted sex trafficker to make a deal after firing career prosecutor who put her in prison. I mean, as you said, Chris, this isn't going away even with his base. This is so bad, this cover-up.
Yep.
Right, Astro says, funny how there's endless energy to ban books and attack drag shows, but suddenly silence when it's time to hold actual pedophiles accountable.
Astro?
Right?
Astro, what's that?
Right. Thank you. West Coast LA says the big story here is not that he's in the files. The big story, it has been systematically and intentionally covered up by everybody around him. And just again, to reiterate again and again, Judd Legum, Ghislaine Maxwell is serving a 20-year prison sentence. Her only way out is to make Trump happy. The DOJ is meeting with her because they see her as a potential solution to their Epstein problem. Chris, you were saying they're meeting again today?
Yes, they are.
My goodness,
Closed door meeting.
It's so interesting. Those two lawyers were such polite chipmunks. It's so weird. They are friends. Yes, Trump's defense attorney.
After you. Oh, no. You first. Thank you.
And Ghislaine Maxwell's attorney. Just so you know, they happen to be good buddies.
Polite.
Yeah.
So polite.
Yeah. Weird. Coincidence, I'm sure. Yeah, Justice's number 2 official met Thursday with Ghislaine Maxwell. Let's see. Her attorney, who is his buddy.
Right.
Said Ms. Maxwell answered every single question. She never stopped. She never invoked a privilege. She never declined to answer. She answered all the questions truthfully, honestly, and to the best of her ability. Oh, unlike during her trial when she perjured herself several times. He said his team was thankful the Attorney General came to question Maxwell, calling it a good day. Gee, that doesn't smell at all like a pardon, does it? Smells like something. Asked if his client could potentially receive a pardon or see her prison term reduced, her lawyer said, "Oh, there's no promises yet." I feel like yet's doing a lot of work in that sentence.
Yet is It's like Atlas holding the globe on his shoulders.
Right. So she's just answering questions for now. Oh, I see. And they're back today already, after they gave her a giant Winona Ryder-sized box.
I got it.
She left with the Grinch's sleigh full of...
Yes, right.
Something. I'm sure there's nothing.
Going up to the top of Mount Crumpet.
There's nothing about getting their stories straight. Todd Blanche said the Department of Justice will share additional information about what we learned at the appropriate time. I'm going to say the appropriate time is when Trump's approval rating hits 37%, which it just did.
Yeah, it did.
Okay. Wow. Oh, look who's here. It's Karen in Chicago. What? I mean, not till hour 2. What's happening?
So we think we're going
Would you leave her on hold this long?
No, she was otherwise.
Let's hear Karen
selling a house.
Chicago.
Yes.
No one else can take her place.
Yes.
She can change.
Wow.
Change the world. You're in danger.
Yeah.
Girl. We're starting.
Karen had a number of things with a number of guys at a number of places last hour.
Got it.
Hi, Karen. Hi.
Uh-oh. And that's why I can't run for office.
Yeah.
A number of guys in a number of places.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
So anyway, I just want to say, first they came for Stephen Colbert, and then the guys at South Park said F that S.
Yeah. Yep. That's what I love about it, right?
That was absolutely brilliant. And, we cannot let this Epstein thing die and the cover-up that the Republicans are doing. And I really think, and of course we've talked about this, if Bill Clinton is implicated, if he was raping girls, then absolutely he needs to be held accountable for it. But it also kind of speaks about the fact that in our political environment that money and influence are used on these different politicians. No, Bill Clinton shouldn't be on this guy's plane. And, we need to do a better job on our side of vetting these people that are trying to curry favor and win influence over politicians, period. Right. And it's just another reason why we have got to get this money out of politics.
Yeah.
We kind of knew what Bill Clinton was all about, though.
Yeah,
we had an inkling.
That's not fair. Not that.
Yeah, right, not that. Yes. But we knew that he probably had some.
I think the problem is, I think there were a lot of false, politically motivated charges against Clinton.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like the whole Paula Jones thing was funded by the right. There isn't any credible evidence yet that Bill Clinton did anything that was non-consensual.
Right.
Exactly. Consensual dalliances with grown women is one thing.
Right.
We're talking about child rape.
Exactly.
Those are right.
And if he took part in that, then he needs to rot in jail forever.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But anyway.
Well, I asked.
I love you guys. I was
going to say we don't. Glenn's traveling today, but I have to keep asking too. Like, what is the statute of limitations for all this? Like, it is infuriating that everybody could get away with this. With the systematic rape of.
Yeah, no, but I think that, that would be good information to have. But, the bottom line is this. We need to know who these people are, and whether it could be prosecuted, whether they would have enough evidence to hold these people criminally accountable or, like you said, with the statute of limitations. But the bottom line is we have the right to know who among us have done this, and if they are political figures, who did it, and so that we can hold them accountable. Just as far as like they will no longer have a place at the table, they will no longer be able to serve the public, and they will have to just go away and be shunned.
Right, gotcha.
Basically.
Okay, Chris is holding up a meaty finger.
All right.
Yes.
The statute of limitations for victims in the Jeffrey Epstein case vary by jurisdiction, and whether the victim was a minor or an adult at the time of the abuse. Generally, civil actions for sexual abuse may be brought within 10 years of the last act of abuse, within 10 years of the date of the victim's discovery of the abuse, or within 10 years of the victim that the victim reaches the age of 18.
Okay.
So there are varying
right.
things.
Okay, I think I've mentioned this. Trump, as you know, just claimed, again, I think it was again yesterday, his approval is at an all-time high, is actually approaching an all-time low. The recent Gallup poll, his approval rating sits at, sad trumpets. Are there enough sad trumpets? 37%.
Holy Toledo.
Down 10 points from his second term high shortly after he took office in January. A second term low. His all-time worst number in the Gallup poll was 34% that he reached shortly after January 6th.
My stars and garters.
The decline has come mostly from independents. Cheese and crackers. That's bad news for him. Okay.
Holy Toledo.
Thank you.
Holy Toledo's the best
We're
one.
aging Bella.
Yeah.
She's just like,
we're turning her into an old lady.
Stars.
Bella sounds like an 85-year-old woman named Mildred. Hey, are you traveling this summer? Will you leave instructions for your house sitter, the name and number of your vet, maybe, the code to your alarm system? Think about the steps you take to prepare for vacation, and you'll get a sense of what goes into a knockbox. Just go to theknockbox.com, use the code Stephanie. Knockbox is a complete system that helps you organize all of your accounts, possessions, and estate plans for your next of kin. Each knockbox, that's Knockbox, comes with a comprehensive checklist that helps ensure you add everything they'll need to manage your estate when you are gone. From your funeral directives to your insurance policies, even the keys to your storage